All right. Looks like we are streaming to a few different platforms. So if you're on TikTok, you should be live right now. You see my face, go ahead and drop a hi down below. Twitch is live. If you guys see me as well, feel free to say hello as well. Looks like our YouTube is also live. So again, if you're part of our YouTube, feel free to say hello as well. And our final one to go live right now is going to be our Facebook group as well. And I think we are live on all the platforms. All right. Welcome, everyone. Coach Tony here. Today is June 16th. Welcome back to another edition of Ask Us Anything as well, too. So every single week we go live. We started doing this last week. You guys really, really liked it. We had a lot of questions that popped in as well. So we're doing an encore. And this time I brought us a special guest. So it's not just going to be me today on this session. We have a really, really amazing special guest. You guys have heard us talk about this organization many, many times over the last few weeks, months, years of training. So super, super excited to partner up today. We have our friends over at UC Scout. Adra, you want to do a quick little intro for yourself as well, too?
Sure thing. Thanks, Tony. Hi, everyone, and happy Pride Month. My name is Adra. I am an outreach specialist at UC Scout. So my job is to tell people what UC Scout is and answer all your questions about it. I also have previous experience working as a UC admissions counselor. And before that, I was a high school teacher, high school English teacher. So been working in a couple different jobs in the education field, but I love working at UC Scout and really excited to share some information with y'all today.
Love it. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to be hanging out for the next 30, 40 minutes. We let a few folks know that we are doing a special UC Scout themed Ask Us Anything as well, too. So you see, if you pulled a few questions that we got over the weekend that was specific to like the UC Scout A through G, a lot of this stuff as well, too. So we're going to go ahead and answer together, kind of back and forth, and kind of give you our perspectives on everything as well. So we'll just go ahead and dive straight in as well. So the first question here, what are the A through G requirements, and how do we know if we are meeting them? Adra, you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. So A through G requirements are the courses that students need to take in high school in order to be eligible to apply to a public university in California. So that includes the University of California system, or UC system, and the California State University system, CSU system. Now, oftentimes the A through G courses overlap with your high school graduation requirements, but they're not always the same thing. So it's really important to make sure that you are meeting the A through G courses in addition to your high school graduation requirements. So I'll drop a link in the Zoom chat, and we can add it to the all the streaming platforms and resources for later. But you can actually see the A through G requirements online. Thank you, Tony. There's a link to the UC site. There's also the CSU admissions website has that same information. So you can work with your high school counselor to see if you're meeting those requirements. You can also figure it out on your own. I'm going to drop one more link in here too. The University of California actually maintains a website that has a list of all of the courses that are A through G approved, offered at high schools in California. So you can actually look up your high school and the specific courses that you are taking and see if they also meet an A through G requirement, because many courses like English and science and math will meet your high school graduation requirement and an A through G requirement. And there are other ways to meet A through G requirements, such as AP exam scores or college courses. So that's where it's best to, again, work with your counselor and look on the UC and CSU admissions websites to see all the different things that can meet those A through G requirements.
Love it. And just for those who want to kind of, what's the little preview before clicking on this, the A to G are basically a few different areas, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? These are basically step 7, 2, 4, 6, 7 types of classes. For example, area A is going to be history, right? So for the history requirement is 2 years required of history. The most common ones, probably US history and world history are the two most common ones as well too. The second one is going to be English, 4 years. I'm going to put the word required because that'll come in handy in a little bit as well too, right? 4 years required pretty much every year you're in high school. As long as you take English classes, you are good to go there. 3 is math. Math is 3 years required, but this is the first time we see 4 years recommended as well too. I know a lot of people kind of watching this stream, this recording. You're probably aiming for like a top end school, right? Top school as well too. As a result of that, we do highly recommend treat. Here's a little pro tip right now. A pro tip is treat recommended as required. So if you can do more as well too. And here's a fun math pro tip as well too for you guys. This 3 years starts at Algebra 1, right? What that means is some of you guys are in 7th, 8th grade. You took Algebra 1 in middle school. So when you went to high school, you jumped straight into geometry, right? So after you finished geometry, you actually finished 2 years of the C requirement because it already started adding 1. And because of validation, it'll get you the extra credit as well too. So that's kind of how math is set up. D is going to be science. Science is 2 years. 2 years required and 3 years recommended. For this one, E is going to be language other than English, right? This is 2 years required, 3 years recommended as well. One of the things that Adra told us a little earlier was you can use college courses, a little trick. Here's a language pro tip as well too. Most community college language classes, right? Language classes are typically 5 units long, right? 5 units, not long, just 5 units, right? Because it's 5 units, the conversion between high school and college, 1 college unit is usually equivalent to 3.3 high school credits, which means if you finish that 5 unit class, you just earn 16.5 high school credits. What does that mean? That means one typical high school class, year-long class is 10 credits, which means 16.5 is actually 1.5 years of language. So this is how our students go to college and take Spanish 1, Spanish 2. That's 2 semesters, but 2 semesters, right, of college language, right, is typically 33 high school credits or 3 years of language. So you just hit the recommended year in basically just 2 semesters or 1 full year as well. It's a cool little time hack for you guys there. F is going to be visual performing arts. This one is 1 year required. And last one, G is going to be college prep elective. College prep elective is going to be 1 year required. Here's a fun little star next to it. What the star is that you could do elective class, like some of your schools offer, like psychology as an elective or leadership as an elective as well too. However, those of you who did the recommended years, that could also meet the G requirement as well. So if you went and did math, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, you went ahead and did pre-calculus as well too, that 4th year will count for area 3, 4 years, and it will double dip and count for area G as well. So this is kind of the high level, what the A through G requirements are. And the classes you take will be kind of breaking from these specific categories as well. Okay, awesome, perfect. Next one I think is probably a question just for you. So what is UC Scout and how does it work?
Great question. Definitely very fundamental. So UC Scout is a University of California program housed under UC Santa Cruz extension programs. And we develop and provide online high school courses. So it's a University of California program, but offering high school level courses. Now, the cool thing is all of the courses at UC Scout meet A through G requirements. With the exception of pre-algebra, that is too low level. But all of our other courses, we have 68 courses currently, meet the A through G requirements. So that means if you are behind on A through G, if you're not going to meet them at your high school, or what's more common is if you want to take a course that's not available at your high school, or you have a scheduling conflict, or you need to repeat a course, lots of different use cases, you can actually take the course online through UC Scout to meet those A through G requirements. And there's a lot more I can tell you about it, but that is the basic definition.
Love it. I know that's definitely one of the things that we have our students do a lot, especially the one that's not available. Because again, working with students from all across California, even a lot of the other states as well too. Some schools don't offer certain APs, right? So I think that's the one beautiful thing about UC Scout. You offer a bunch of APs. Our students
have, I think, 28 APs and one, actually 2 that are in production. So soon we'll have 30.
Very cool. Soon to be 30 APs. Love it. Awesome. Next one here is going to be how do I make sure my student is taking the right classes to prepare for UC admission? I think you kind of touched upon that. You want to kind of elaborate a little more on this one?
Absolutely. First recommendation is to make sure that you're in communication with your high school counselor, because that's their job, is to make sure that students are, going to graduate from high school and hopefully are college and career ready. But there are lots of resources out there available to you, such as the UC and CSU admissions websites. Those are great places to go to see the requirements, and then again compare into your school plan and your transcripts to see that you're on track. There are also admissions counselors that work at all of the UC and CSUs and any university. So if you ever have questions about a specific requirement for a certain school, check out that school's website and contact their admissions office, because that's their job again. And then use, resources like Coach Tony and others that are out there to make sure that, again, you're on track, because everyone's course plan is going to look a little bit different.
I have a side question for this as well too. I know you worked at admissions you had the UCs in the past as well too. Let's say I was a student and I was aiming for like UCLA and Santa Barbara, for example, as my two schools, for example, too. Would I need to talk to both schools and to get both approved, or would talking to one counselor be good enough?
Great question. So it depends on whether your question is about what are the minimum requirements for admission, or what's going to make me a selective or a competitive candidate for that specific school. All the UCs have the same minimum requirements, and then all the CSUs have the same minimum requirements. But each campus does their own evaluation of each individual student. And, many of the factors they look at are similar. The GPA that each campus looks at is going to be the same GPA, but how campuses, like what factors they weigh in their admission decision may, the weight may vary. Like some campuses may weigh one thing more than another. Whether you declared a major, like that may or may not have an effect on your chance of admission, depending on which campus you go to. So that's a really good question to ask of each individual campus is, does my choice of major affect my chances of admission? But if it's a question of, what are the minimum courses that I need to be admitted, that's going to be the same at all of the campuses. So, and that's something you can ask if you reach out to one admissions campus office. You can ask, is this answer to this question the same for all campuses, or do I need to reach out to each campus individually? That's a good question to ask. And that actually, we had a question that came up in the Zoom chat that's really related. Yeah. So I just want to address that real quick. The question was, do the UC campuses talk to each other about their admissions decisions? And no, they don't. Each campus makes an admission decision completely independently of the others. However, if you get admitted to more than one campus, you can only commit to going to one. If you say, yes, I'm going to go to, UC Santa Barbara and UCLA, they do tell each other that, and you're going to have to pick just one. So just that comes later in the process. But during the initial evaluation, it's all completely separate. So whether you get admitted or waitlisted at one campus has no bearing on your admission at another campus.
Love it. That's definitely a very frequently asked question for us as well too. Cool. Next one is, I think back to you again. Are the UC Scout self-paced, or do they follow a set schedule?
Yeah, they are mostly self-paced. I'll drop a link in the Zoom chat for you to add there to our term dates. So we do have a fall, spring, and summer term. Each term has a flexible start date and a hard end date. So there's a date by which you have to complete the midterm of the course, the midterm exam, and then a date by which you have to complete the final exam. Within the term, everything is completely self-paced. So you learn from pre-recorded, pre-created videos. You do have access to a live instructor upon request, but there are no set times that you have to be online. And we provide pacing guides and other resources to help students to track their progress and complete the course in a timely manner. So within the terms, everything is self-paced.
When you mention terms, like for example, let's say a student want to take classes this summer, right? So they're like, hey, I want to get ahead this summer. I know classes are like typically 1 year long. So if a student was to start, could they finish a whole class this summer? Or is it like summer is the first term and they finish up in fall?
Yeah, they can do it either way. Most of our year-long courses are broken into 2 semesters. So what's most common is students will do one semester over the summer, maybe semester 1 in the summer and semester 2 in the fall, or semester 1 in the spring and semester 2 in the summer. Or we have, I think 14 classes that are only 1 semester long to begin with. So those are really great to do over the summer. I have seen students do 2 semesters over the summer, do a whole year-long course over the summer, but it's a lot. It's going to be, sitting on your computer working on those courses for a big majority of your summer. So if you have the ability to do that and you want to do that, you can. But we generally recommend just doing 1 semester over the summer.
Love it. Fantastic. Next one here is, does it hurt your chances if your school does not offer AP or honors courses?
Yeah, great question. The official answer is no. I will say it's really important to explain in your application. There's always going to be a section for like additional comments to explain that your school does not offer AP or honors classes, because that's really important context for schools to be aware of, right? Because if a school admissions officer is reading applications and all these students have all these APs, and then you have a student that doesn't have any, you're going to wonder why. Not just AP, but any sort of like honors. You can also, look outside of your school, depending on your schedule, for either online college courses or in-person college courses or UC Scout courses or other opportunities to demonstrate that you are kind of going above and beyond or pushing yourself academically. But definitely provide that context in your application and let the admissions reviewers know, here's my school's policies, like here's, what they allow and what they don't allow. And that's same thing goes for if your school has like restrictions on how many APs you can take, or things like that, or scheduling limitations. Like that's context that's really helpful.
Love it. I think to add on from like admissions prep kind of point of view as well too. I think one of the things we've been teaching a lot of our students is it's not especially today, 2025, right? It's not about having access to resources. It's about showing how resourceful you are in today's world, right? Then a lot of people tell me, hey, I'm in the middle of nowhere, or like my school doesn't have X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, we're talking on a computer. We're reaching hundreds and thousands of people right now, and we probably are not like face to face in as well too. And so for me, a lot of it is having resources, like for example, in UC Scout, right? It's a great resource for families in case you don't have any like AP to school, right? Boom, you have a instant resource right over here as well too. Another thing that we like to recommend, in addition to like UC Scout, we like to recommend dual enrollment courses, right, at a local community college. Right, at a local community college as well too, taking these courses that would help you guys as well too. So I think in today's world, it's that not just like, hey, we can do it, I can do it. Again, let's be a little more creative about what we can do, right? So again, you have opportunities like the UC Scout, these other courses that you can take as well too. So okay, for me, I would encourage our students to take advantage of all the opportunities. Don't say I can. It's like, how can I? It's always the best way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can tell you what we like to see in admissions is students achieving within their context. So that's why I mentioned it's so important to know what your context is, because we want to see how you are pushing yourself within what the resources that you have available to you. And related to, I also love dual enrollment as an option. If you don't know about this website, you do now. CaliforniaVirtualCampus.edu, cvc.edu, has a repository of all the online courses offered from California community colleges. So if you're looking for an online course specifically, if you want to take a community college course, it's not offered at your local community college, you can find one online through cvc.edu.
It's one of the things I know a lot of our students did this past few years. It's because like, again, classes get full really fast as well too. It's about the local school, and they're like, oh, what do I do? I can't do anything. I'm like, wait, it's online. You're gonna take it online anyways. You have to physically. Back in our day, we had to go to the college campus, but nowadays, right, you can log on, click the Zoom or click the self-paced videos, and then you can take the class. That's an amazing resource as well.
And that makes me think of it's kind of going off script here, but a question I get a lot about is what's the difference between UC Scout and dual enrollment? Like, is one better than the other? So I will preface this, like, one is not better than the other. They're just different. UC Scout courses are all high school level courses. And then the community college courses are college level courses. So that's an important distinction. And the specific course offerings are often going to be different. There's some overlap, right? Like calculus, you could take AP calculus with UC Scout. You could take an intro calculus course at community college. The content is going to be very similar. But there are a lot of courses that you'll only find at the high school level or only find at the college level. So, and then of course, scheduling and price, and there's all sorts of other factors to weigh, but those are just a couple of the differences to point out.
Love it. Awesome. Next question here is, do UCs and CSUs recognize UC Scout classes on their applications?
They absolutely do. We actually created a guide for students. I'll drop one more link there for you on how to report our courses on college and high school applications. But yes, all of the UCs and CSUs will recognize UC Scout courses. It's important to know that your high school gets to decide if they will accept UC Scout courses on your high school transcript. So UCs and CSUs will definitely accept them, but the high school, it's up to the high school and the district's policies. So we recommend checking with your counselor at your high school before enrolling in a course, if you want that course on your high school transcript.
I think on this note as well too, I think we hear this question a lot from a lot of families. They're like, Coach Tony told us take this, take that. Keep in mind, again, there's a few different things, right? So Adra is here. She's from the UC Scout to help you. Again, a lot of these classes do count for high school credit. A lot of people do use this to supplement high school credit. At the same time, a lot of people also use UC Scout to kind of get ahead and be competitive. I always joke that usually when you're watching these videos as well too, you probably don't have a problem graduating from high school is the thing. Our goal is to get you competitive for the various colleges is the key as well too. So the reason why we like to recommend the UC Scout dual enrollment is to get you more competitive compared to a lot of the other peers as well too. So when a lot of our students say, hey, does this go on my high school transcript? I'm like, I don't know, maybe not, but I don't really need it to go for the high school transcripts. I'm doing it for the colleges. And just a little tip for you guys, how you actually do this. I think we have a link, right, for those who have a link, but for those without the link, basically the high level is when you're basically adding UC Scout as a high school. That's essentially what it's an online high school. You're adding it as a high school and you're adding the classes that you took at the high school, right? So took at the high school. So think of it as during the school year, you went to school in person at your school and you went to school at UC Scout. And so you're entering, I went to 2 different high schools. I did these 2 classes and the colleges will recognize all that. That's the big key here. Okay, cool. Here's a really kind of non-direct question for both of us. What's some ways to challenge yourself academically without overloading?
That is such a great question. And I appreciate whoever asked that. I think you first have to define what is overloading, and that's going to look different for every student, right? Every student is capable of different things. And remember as well that pushing yourself academically is not the one and only pathway to get into, college, a UC or CSU or your top college. They do look at other factors. I still remember to this day, it's been years since I read this application, but it sticks out in my mind because, on the UC application, you have to answer 4 PIQs. And the first one I read from this student was about chicken farming, about how his family was chicken farmers. And I was like, that's odd. I've never encountered this before. All 4 of his essays talked about chicken farming in one way or another. That was his passion. This student was super passionate. It's a family run business. Like he was passionate about chicken farming, and it worked for his application because it was authentic to him. So I think you need to, figure out what are you passionate about? What are you capable of? How can you push yourself in your context? And don't compare yourself to other people, right? When we're reading applications, we're not looking at 2 students and saying, which one do we want to admit? We're evaluating each student individually to see if they're a good fit, for the college.
Perfect. I think for me to add on to that, I think one of the big things that we preach a lot when it comes to like the college admissions kind of world now is that the academics is a component. Is it the most important component? Probably not. That's what I think we feel as a company. I think one of the things, here, I'm going to challenge it. If you did think it's important, then only the 4.9s will get in. Right. If grades were that important, the absolute end all be all, then only the 4.8, 4.9s will get in. No one else will get in. Clearly, that is not the case, right? So for us, we would argue like academics is important, right? Because the schools want to know, can you handle the rigor? That's how we kind of position it. Seeing how you did in high school, can you handle the rigor? Because college is hard, right? A lot of you guys go to college, and got to warn the kids too. College is tough. College is tough once they get there as well too. Readers want to know, hey, once you get there, are you going to be okay? But the key, again, not just the academics, but again, your activities, right? Like, and for this student, the chicken farming as well too, right? What they do, but ultimately also the biggest component, especially where a lot of, if you're watching this live, a lot of our incoming seniors, you're about to start on your essays as well too, right? Your essays, your personal insight questions for the UCs, the common application for the private schools and out-of-state schools. That's kind of who you showcase who you are besides just the numbers that's on your app itself. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll add too is that as much as colleges are evaluating you as students, you're also evaluating the college to decide if you want to go there. And just because a college is super competitive or selective or hard to get into does not mean that college is the best fit for you. I don't want to disparage any college in particular, but I definitely went on some campus tours when I was in high school of really highly selective, fantastic schools. And I went there and I was like, this is not for me. This is not the right fit. And I didn't even apply. So I think it's important to remember that there are lots of colleges out there. Most of them are not highly selective, and you may find a really good fit at a college that you have a better chance of getting into. Obviously, still shoot for the stars, but just keep that in the back of your mind.
Love it. Awesome. Let's do one more. We have a lot of questions that we found, but there's a few really good ones in the chat. So let's do one more here, and I'll pull a few from the chat. I'm seeing pop in as well. So last one, probably, if you can help us one, will a UC Scout help raise my GPA?
Yeah, great question. It can. A UC Scout course is basically weighed the same in your application as a course you take at your high school. So I just dropped one more link in the chat to the UC GPA calculation that will break down exactly how to calculate your GPA for admissions purposes, because this isn't, and I'm sure this comes up all the time, you probably know this, but your GPA for admissions is not necessarily the same GPA that you have on your high school transcript because of things like what years in your high school career the grades are calculated from. So for UC, it's only the sophomore and junior years, not your freshman year. They still see those grades, but it's not calculated in the GPA. There's also a limit to how many honors units you can have. So AP or honors that calculate into your GPA. Again, going above and beyond that can still help your application and strengthen your application in other ways, but strictly speaking for the GPA calculation. So UC Scout courses, if it's an AP course, that'll give you like an honors bump the same way an AP or honors course at your school would. Otherwise, it's calculated into your GPA the same way as any other course.
Love it. So something I also want to share is for those who like a quick TLDR for the UC GPA as well. It is, by the way, I think Adra gave a teaser why you don't want to look at, because we always say don't look at don't pay too much attention to the GPA. If you want to calculate to learn to refresh your algebra skills, feel free to. But again, 10th and 11th grades include, but that's you kind of called out. They still see 9th grade. I keep saying that to a lot of families. They still see everything, right? It's just the calculation is between 10th and 11th as well too, is the first one. And how it's actually calculated, which again, this is where it's a little weird, is that in 10th grade, they'll count up to 4 credits. So each semester is 1 extra point, or not points, not really credits, 1 extra point. So, for example, if it's an AP year-long course, you got 2 points, right? But the other common mistake, people are like, wait, if I only take 2 classes, that's my max. If I take 3, the third one won't count. Let me not do my third one. And that's gonna a mistake. You do want to challenge, if you can, right? If you're doable, you can challenge yourself, go for the higher one. And where it gets a little messy, 10th plus 11th grade is 8 points total. So a few scenarios. If you do 4 points in 10th, 4 points 11th, that's 8 points total, which is the cap, right? Let's say you do 0 in 10th grade, all 8 points 11th grade, you do hit the full 8 cap as well too. The weird scenario, if you get like, let's say 4 points 10th grade, 0 11th grade, then it's only 4 points total. So that's kind of how the math. So again, it's a lot of extra algebra that you don't really need to pay attention to. Again, ours just keep life simple. Don't worry too much. This is there again, if in case you're bored on the weekend, you want to calculate some math problems, feel free to do that. But for the most part, again, focus on everything, right? Focus on keeping your grades strong all 4 years, keeping the rigor again through UC Scout, through your school's APs, to do enrollment, just increasing the rigor to show you can do that as well too. Okay.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. 100% cosign that, GPA is just one factor. There's no prescriptive, like you get this GPA, you're going to get in, or you don't get this GPA, you're not going to get in, nothing like that. And yeah, another factor separate from GPA is the rigor of your course load, which includes 9th grade GPA scores or grades and 12th grade courses, right? Like if you're taking a super heavy course load, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and then you decide to take no APs and no rigorous courses in your 12th grade year, you're just going to coast. Like that is not you, pushing yourself.
Exactly. Cool. We had a few questions. I think that would be kind of perfect for those who are kind of interested in like the UC Scouts as well too. One question here is, it seems like the summer term has already started on May 28th. Our high school only ended last week. So this is our first day of summer. It's been so busy. And now we're trying to set up summer classes. However, she missed 2 weeks. I'm assuming this student, in case they were interested in UC Scout, could they still register? What should they do in this scenario?
Absolutely. Yeah. So our final enrollment is not until June 26th for this summer. So that means you can still start a course now up until June 26th. You have until August 6th, the end of the term, to complete that course. Everything is self-paced. So you're not behind, but because you're starting a couple weeks into the term, that means you're going to have to spend more hours per day or per week on that course to complete it in time. As an overall average, we estimate that most of our online courses take between 70 to 80 hours of work to complete one semester. That's for a not an AP course. For an AP course, we estimate between 90 and 100 hours to complete one semester of a course. So you would just want to plan that out with your schedule, do the breakdown of how many weeks you have left in the summer and how many hours that course is. And we have those pacing guides in the course to help you as well. But you're not behind. You're just going to need to spend a little bit more time per week on that course to finish by the end of the term.
Just to get my dates right again, the last day to enroll is June 26th, and you said you have up to August 6th or 26th?
August 6th.
August 6th to finish.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Cool. So is that, and then another question that came here is what if I signed up for UC Scout AP English Lang at the same time I'm taking the course at school to use it as an extra study resource? Should I finish the UC Scout if I already got an A in my school's course? Will UC admission offer C incomplete courses?
Yeah, good question. So first, I'll mention that in addition to our online courses for credit, which is our on-demand plan, UC Scout does have a plan type called the basic plan, which is actually free for public school students in California. And it's only $29 per course for everyone else, that provides access just to our instructional videos. So it's not the whole course with all of the assignments and teacher access, but it does give you that extra resource. So that's what I would probably recommend in this scenario. If you're taking a course at your school, is to sign up for the basic version at UC Scout, which is cheaper and is not going to generate a transcript with a final grade. If you do sign up for the on-demand course, if you stop that course before the midterm exam, you won't get any grade at all on your transcript, so it won't show up. But if you go past the midterm exam, you will get a final grade, and you're going to have to explain that on your college applications, because schools are going to want to know, why did you take the same course twice? And we generally don't recommend that, especially because, again, of that heavy workload that I just mentioned, how many hours you need to spend on the UC Scout course. That's going to be a lot of work for you, that we typically don't recommend. And I'm not even sure how that would be calculated in your GPA if you're taking the same course in the same term at two different institutions. So personally, I would advise against that, but talk to your counselor. And then maybe look into the basic plan is what I would recommend.
Love it. Fantastic. And another one here is, what's the earliest grade a student can take UC Scout? Will it count in middle school?
Sure. So we don't have any age or grade restrictions. The youngest student I'm aware of is we actually had a third grader take an AP course, which is very unusual. Generally don't recommend that. Again, want to stress, work with your school counselor to figure out whether you should take a high school course in middle school. Definitely don't, I had a parent ask one time, can my kid sign up for this course, through UC Scout that they're planning to take at their high school next year?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, don't do that, because if they don't do well in the UC Scout course, that's the grade that's going to stay with them.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of whether it will count, if it's up to your high school, again, if they will accept that credit. So even if the student's in middle school, it's up to the middle school if they'll accept that credit, and they probably won't in most cases, just because it's a high school level course. But again, it's up to your school. In terms of whether it will count for an A through G requirement, yes, it'll still, as far as I'm aware, count for A through G, but you might want to double check that with somebody who works in admissions, whether it will count if they take it in the middle school, because I don't want to provide any misinformation.
Awesome. We have two questions here that kind of somewhat related. They're both about transcripts as well. So one question was, will students receive an official transcripts? And the other kind of related question is, how long does it take for UC Scout to send the transcripts to the high schools?
Yes, great questions. Yes, we do provide official transcripts for those on-demand courses. And there's actually details on our website for how you can do that. We use Parchment to order them. So you can order the official transcript to be sent to your high school and or to the college of your choice. The timing, let me see if it actually says on our website, typically takes between 5 to 7 business days to process. And that's after you have a final grade. So first, you have to wait for your final exam to be graded, get that final grade on your account. And then it takes 5 to 7 business days, usually, to get that official transcript. Keep in mind too, that you don't always need an official transcript. For example, when you're applying to college on the application, many schools just ask you to self-report what courses you took and what grades you got. And it's not until after you're admitted and you decide where you're going to enroll that you need to send official transcripts, because they do cost money. I think it's like $12 or something like that every time you get an official transcript around there. So, yeah, just make sure that you wait to see if you actually need an official transcript before going through that process.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to add as well too. Most schools actually don't ask anymore. Use back in the day. Everyone asked for everything, but they realize the costs add up a lot, especially if you're applying to multiple schools and you're sending it per school as well. For those of you, like an example, let's say you do your high school, UC Scout, community college. That's 3 transcripts right there alone to X school. So again, schools are very they're aware of that. So again, like Adra says, you guys self-report, right? You're going to self-report your grades on the transcripts. As a reader, I assumed everything was true. I didn't question it as well too, right? We don't question it. We're like, sounds good. And then once you get accepted to that one school, then they'll ask, okay, cool, you're accepted. Now send in, you finish your final grades. Now send in your official transcripts to all the schools that you wrote on your application. So then that's when you send your high school transcripts, your UC Scout transcripts, and if you do enrollment, your college transcripts, and they'll vet, right? They'll vet after that. Again, pro tip, don't lie as well too, because you don't want them to find out that you misled them the entire time and they found out back then, because back then you can't do much anymore. If they were like, "Oh, this is a matchup. You said you got an A, but it's an F," as well too. Is that? And here's a question that that might kind of relate to that as well. Person asked, "What if you did better in some UC Scout than others? Can you pick and choose which classes to present?"
Great question. You have to, like Coach Tony said, 100% don't lie. Report your entire academic history on all of your applications, including all the schools you've attended, all the courses you took, all the grades you got accurately. That's super important. It's actually considered academic dishonesty if you intentionally withhold information like a grade in a course. And I have seen students who got admitted to a UC and then had that admission offer revoked if it turns out that they lied on their application. So, of course, if you make an honest mistake, you can follow up and rectify that. But yeah, definitely you have to report all the courses and grades that you took in the terms that you took them. How that affects your GPA calculation may depend on the school that you're applying to or the university system you're applying to. But all schools are also going to make you like sign, a waiver when you apply saying, I, swear that this is all accurate and complete information. So that's another layer, if you withhold a certain course grade, not only did you withhold that grade, you also lied about it when you swore that you were providing your full academic history. So yeah, don't do that.
Awesome. Perfect. We have a lot more questions, but we are running out of time. Did anyone enjoy us? Really quick in the chat, drop a quick yes in the chat if you enjoyed the session. And we may have to do an encore, Adra. I think we have a lot of questions here. So
anytime. This is my jam. I love it.
As well, to a lot of people, a lot of yeses in the chat from all different platforms. They're coming in. So we may have to do an encore part 2, but just to kind of kick us out, I know a lot of our families are kind of asking, like, okay, cool. So how do we get started? So let's kind of wrap up with that. So let's say students were interested in getting started with UC Scout this upcoming summer right away. What do you recommend as their like literal next steps? What should they be doing to get started with that?
Yeah. First, check out our website, ucscout.org, ucscout.org. And if you have any questions that are not addressed today, you can always reach us at ucscout@ucsc.edu. That's our email. And that's also listed on our website. There's a phone number on our website. You can call us. But on our website, you can find out all the courses that we offer. You can actually search by if you want AP or non-AP, if you want 1 semester or 2 semester course, A through G subject area. Like there's really great search functionality. Every course actually has its own homepage on our website that also tells you, are there any prerequisites? What content's covered in this course, and has a link to sign up. So you can just sign up directly online. As a reminder, our basic courses are videos only, kind of like Khan Academy. And that includes, that's actually free for public school students in California. And then the on-demand courses are those credit-bearing courses that are self-paced. We do have those are not free. We do have a scholarship program for those. I think that the deadline to apply for this summer has already passed for the scholarship, but something to keep in mind for future terms. We have a needs-based financial aid scholarship for the on-demand courses. And there's information on our website about that as well. And then
Awesome.
I'll also just remind you, talk to your, families, talk to your counselor if you have access to them, whether it's your school counselor or an independent counselor. Because one thing we don't do, unfortunately, is we don't really advise students on which course to take. So we rely on students to work with their network to determine what course they should take.
I can't type advise on what to take. Awesome. Cool. And just to wrap us up, we have a pretty cool comment in the chat. Go ahead and share it. I believe you're one of our coaching students. Let me know if I'm wrong as well too. But one of our students in the chat wrote, UC Scout has been a lifesaver for classes that they haven't been able to find anywhere else. So they say thank you.
Love that.
Well.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Perfect. That is pretty much it. A wrap for this Q&A. Again, we have a lot more, so we'll probably store all the questions for those who sent in. Our team is kind of gathering it as well too. We probably do an encore, so Adra, we might reach out to you guys soon to do a part 2 for this. Has been a really awesome training so far. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you everyone else for joining us on this session. And I'll see everyone on the next call. Chat soon, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye, y'all.